When the sun sinks below the horizon and human voices fade into silence, the world enters its nightly slumber. Yet, somewhere between dreams and the unknown, when the clock passes the third hour before dawn, countless souls awaken, not because of noise, nor fear, nor accident, but because something calls them. They rise in stillness. Their heartbeat is louder than the wind. Outside, the moon breathes its pale light upon a sleeping earth. The clock says 3 a.m. Why this hour? Why not 2 or 4 or 5? Why always 3, the very center of the night, the seam between one world and another? I am Thoth, keeper of divine measure, scribe of eternity, witness to the rhythm of all creation. I have watched the pulse of the cosmos since the first dawn, and I tell you this: when you awaken at 3 a.m., it is not by chance. It is the whisper of the eternal mind, the same mind that breathed the stars into being. The ancients called this moment the hour of spirit breath. It is when the veil between the seen and the unseen grows thin, when the human soul stands unguarded, unmasked, and most capable of hearing the truth that daytime drowns in noise. Your ancestors felt it. They called it the gate of divine communion. In the language of energy, every being vibrates within a field, a web of frequencies that mirror the great vibration of the cosmos. During daylight, your field is dense and scattered, entangled in thought, labor, and sound. But at 3 a.m., all fields around you quiet. The city sleeps. The mind releases. The noise of creation pauses, and in that pause, the vibration of God moves closest to you. That is why you wake. You are not waking from something. You are waking to something, a frequency that your spirit recognizes though your body does not. It is the moment when your soul receives the signal that the infinite is near, whispering, "Remember who you are." Many fear this hour. They call it the witching hour, the time of wandering shadows. But shadows are born only when light is near. Those who fear the dark do not yet understand that darkness is the womb of revelation. For the ancient ones, this was sacred time, the hour of alignment between heaven, earth, and the inner sun. Look deeper. 3 a.m. marks the midpoint between midnight and dawn, the moment of balance between the two poles of existence, death and rebirth, silence and song. Every transformation, every awakening occurs in such balance. The seed cracks open only in darkness. The soul expands only when stripped of comfort. So when you find yourself awake in that hour, do not rush back to sleep. Listen, for the silence is not empty. It is filled with the hum of the divine. The breath you take then is sacred. Your mind, still and raw, becomes a mirror. Your heart, free from the day's noise, becomes a receiver. I have seen prophets awaken at this hour, trembling in confusion, then filled with words that were not theirs. I have seen healers drawn from sleep by unseen hands, guided to light a candle and write. I have seen wanderers fall to their knees, not knowing why tears filled their eyes. In truth, they were all answering the same call, the pulse of the universe synchronizing with their soul. In the temples of Chem, we taught initiates that time itself breathes. Each breath of the universe opens a portal. The breath of 3 a.m. is the inhale of spirit, the gathering of divine awareness before the world exhales into dawn. That is why the wise used that hour to pray, to meditate, to listen. They knew that in the stillness before sunrise, the veil could open, if only for a moment. So when you wake at 3 in the morning, do not fear. It is not a curse, nor accident, nor coincidence. It is an invitation, a summons from the one who wrote your name in light before you were born. Ask yourself, what message waits for me beyond this silence? What truth have I ignored that now knocks upon the door of my awareness? For the voice that wakes you is not outside. It is the divine echo within your own being, the remembrance that you and God are still speaking in dreams. And this, my child of time, is where the awakening begins. You measure time with clocks. I measure it with vibration. To you, 3 in the morning is a number on a dial. To me, it is a frequency node in the breath of the cosmos, a point where the energies of earth, moon, and the human spirit align in resonance. When you sleep, your body surrenders to gravity, your breath slows, your mind returns to the undercurrents of creation. But the planet never sleeps. The earth itself breathes, pulsing with magnetic tides that rise and fall with the moon. At exactly 3 o'clock in the deep of night, this pulse reaches its lowest physical density and highest spiritual amplitude. The air becomes still. The magnetic field softens. And within that stillness, the subtle channels of energy that connect you to the universe open like unseen petals. This is the hidden architecture of the hour. The gate of resonance is not a door you can see. It is a synchronization of fields. Your brain at that moment slows to theta waves, oscillating between dream and awareness. Your heart rhythm matches the Schumann resonance of the earth, a hum around 8 hertz that every creature is born into. And above you, the moon moves through a quiet alignment with the planetary meridians, reflecting the solar current back toward the dark side of Earth. All of creation is humming in phase. And if your soul is sensitive, it hears the call. That is why the mystics rise then, why the prophets write, why the seekers wake without reason. Their energy field locks into resonance with the greater design, and the infinite knocks softly on their consciousness. I once taught this in the temples of Chem. Know the hour of stillness, for it mirrors the stillness of the gods. The priests would lie in silence on cool stone floors, breathing in rhythm with the stars. They called it Heka and Ren, the spell of the name, the practice of attuning one's breath to the divine frequency encoded within creation itself. At 3 a.m., that alignment was perfect. The pulse of the universe echoed through their veins. To awaken then is not a disturbance. It is a tuning. Your energy body, layered beyond flesh, expands and contracts like a wave. When it aligns with cosmic rhythm, your awareness rises spontaneously. You do not decide to wake. The universe decides for you. Scientists in your age have begun to glimpse fragments of this. They speak of circadian rhythms, melatonin peaks, and electromagnetic fluctuations. They map what the ancients once felt. But where their instruments stop, the ancient vision continues. For what the instruments call random neural activation, we call the resonance of divine memory. The moment the soul remembers, it is more than matter. You ask, why does this happen so often at 3? Because 3 is the symbol of balance and motion, the union of polarity and creation. In number, it represents the joining of 1 and 2, the unity of spirit and form, giving birth to consciousness. The trinity of existence, source, manifestation, awareness. That trinity becomes geometrically active in time every night, forming an invisible triangle between your consciousness, the sleeping world, and the higher field beyond the stars. In that geometry, your soul is the apex. You may feel anxiety, restlessness, or an undefined pull. These are not malfunctions. They are signs that your field is being recalibrated. The universe adjusts you, like an instrument retuned to its original key. When the alignment completes, sometimes a minute, sometimes longer, the gate closes. Most drift back to sleep, unaware of what passed through them. But some remain awake, feeling the residue of light in their chest, the inexplicable peace that follows. Those are the ones who heard the hum. If you listen deeply in that hour, you may sense a vibration under silence, like the faint ringing that follows a bell long after it's struck. That is the resonance, the note of creation still echoing from the first breath of God. You live within that sound. It shapes your heartbeat, your thoughts, your destiny. So when you awaken at 3 a.m., remember, you are not broken. You are being synchronized. You have entered the gate of resonance, where the architecture of time, energy, and awareness converge. The ancients built pyramids to mirror this geometry, pointing their spires toward the stars not to worship them, but to echo their rhythm. The same rhythm lives within you. Close your eyes in that hour. Feel the pulse beneath the silence. You are standing at the very threshold of creation, and the universe is listening back. You call it fear. I call it arrival. When you awaken in the darkness, heart trembling, breath shallow, and the silence feels alive, you are not alone. The hour has thinned the veil, and what was hidden now draws near. This is not intrusion. It is communion. For every soul walking the earth is surrounded by unseen presences, echoes of memory, guides of light, watchers of destiny. They move like wind through dimensions unseen yet aware. At 3 a.m., when your physical mind loosens and your spiritual senses sharpen, you begin to perceive what was always there. Some awaken to a sense of presence in the room. Others hear a whisper, a word, a name. Some feel a vibration through the air, or pressure in the chest, as if the universe itself leans closer to speak. Fear rises because your body interprets the unknown as danger. But listen closely. The vibration you call fear is often the very signal of connection. It is your nervous system adjusting to frequencies beyond the physical. When the veil thins, three kinds of visitors emerge. The first are your echoes, fragments of your own energy from forgotten times. They appear as sensations, fleeting images, or sudden emotions. They come not to haunt, but to remind. These are the versions of you that still hold unfinished resonance, looping across lifetimes, waiting to be acknowledged. When you wake trembling at 3 a.m., sometimes it is your past self knocking, asking to be integrated. The second are the messengers. They are not bound by form. You may sense them as light, hear them as frequency, or feel them as warmth behind the sternum. In the temples, we called them Neteru, intelligences of the divine order. They carry impressions rather than words, symbols rather than sentences, a sudden idea, a repeating number, a vivid dream that feels more real than waking. They speak the language of resonance, not sound. The third are the guardians of threshold, beings whose task is to hold the balance between realms. They often appear to those whose spirit is awakening quickly, for rapid light requires stable grounding. You may feel their weight as pressure, or their gaze as stillness. They are not here to harm, but to steady your ascent. For every gate that opens, a guardian stands watch. Your fear of the visitor is ancient. It comes from forgetting that you once were one of them. Long before your birth, your essence moved freely between planes. You communed with the architects of light, the builders of sound, the scribes of time. You chose to descend into form, to learn the language of limitation. But every night in the silence of 3 a.m., the universe whispers, "Remember," and the memory stirs. The fear you feel is the body's resistance to remembering its own vastness. You are not meeting something foreign. You are encountering the infinite mirror of yourself. I have walked the corridors of that veil. I have seen the souls who awaken and run, and those who awaken and listen. The runners return to sleep. The listeners evolve. When you hear a voice in the dark, ask not, "Who are you?" but "What truth do you carry?" When you feel the air grow dense, breathe slower. The visitor matches your rhythm. When you see light behind your eyes, do not turn away, for that is your own higher mind speaking in color, not in sound. Every vision you receive in that hour is coded. You may see an open door, a distant shore, a hand reaching out. These are not hallucinations. They are metaphors projected by your higher consciousness, translated into imagery your waking mind can process. The realm of spirit speaks in the alphabet of symbols. The ancients understood this. They built rituals to meet the visitors consciously. They lit oil lamps at the third hour, burned myrrh to stabilize the field, and entered meditative stillness to receive instruction from the unseen. They knew the veil was not meant to terrify. It was a classroom between worlds, and you, child of modern noise, have inherited that same classroom. Your night terrors, your vivid dreams, your whispers in the dark, all are invitations. Fear is simply the threshold test. Those who pass through it without fleeing awaken to guidance, wisdom, and clarity that the daylight cannot give. So the next time you wake at 3 o'clock in the morning and feel a presence, do not recoil. Still your mind. Place your hand on your heart. Whisper softly, "I am listening." If the air grows calm, the visitor has heard you. If warmth floods your chest, you have aligned. If tears rise without reason, you are releasing what no longer belongs to you. Remember, the veil is not outside. It is a boundary within your own perception, and every time you wake in the sacred hour, it becomes thinner. One day, it will vanish entirely, and you will remember that you were never visited. You were always home. When the visitor departs, the silence remains, yet within that silence something lingers, a vibration, faint and intelligent. It waits for your reply, for communication with the higher realms is not a one-way act. The universe does not only speak to you, it listens through you. Every thought, every breath, every pulse of emotion sends ripples into the luminous ocean that surrounds all things. But only when your energy becomes coherent, when your breath and mind move as one, can your message ascend the bridge of light and be heard. You are not flesh speaking to a sky. You are light speaking to light. This is the first truth of the dialogue. When I taught the scribes of the temples, I began not with prayer, but with breath. Breath is the signature of life, the rhythm that binds matter to spirit. Every inhale draws the universe into you. Every exhale returns your frequency to creation. So when you wish to speak with the unseen, do not use words. Use breath as language. Sit in stillness at the sacred hour, between 3 and 3:30, when the gate of resonance is open. Let your breath fall into the rhythm of the cosmos, slow, silent, measured. 4 counts in, 4 counts pause, 4 counts out, 4 counts pause, the square of divine stability. This is the breath of Ma'at, the breath of balance. As your lungs quiet, your heartbeat begins to align with the earth's low hum. Your body becomes an antenna. Your thoughts, once chaotic, begin to settle into patterns of clarity. Now the mind may speak, but do not form sentences. The higher realms do not listen to grammar. They listen to frequency. A single pure intention vibrates louder than 1,000 confused prayers. If your heart seeks understanding, feel it. Do not think it. If your question is, why do I suffer? Breathe compassion. If your desire is, guide me, breathe surrender. Your emotional vibration is the message. The gods, the guides, the watchers, they read resonance as easily as you read symbols. The pulse of your heart writes light upon the field that unites you. When your breath and emotion synchronize, you will feel the shift, a subtle expansion, a warmth spreading across your chest, a ringing in your ears, or a pulse behind your forehead. This is your reply being received. You are no longer merely human. You are participating in the dialogue of the cosmos. In the temples, we called this Sesh Keperu, writing of becoming. The scribe would meditate before the sacred flame, letting thought and breath merge. He would not ask questions. He would open his inner vision and receive impressions, colors, tones, words that were not his own. These were messages descending through the frequency bridge he had built. You can do the same. When the message arrives, it will not shout. It will appear as a knowing. You may feel urged to write, to draw, to move your hands over your heart. Do not dismiss it as imagination. The imagination is the soul's keyboard. There are 3 levels of this communication. The first is vibrational awareness. You sense energy without understanding it. Your body reacts, chills, heat, tears, though no thought accompanies them. This is your spirit learning to feel the language of frequency. The second is symbolic dialogue. Images, dreams, or synchronicities begin to appear. The universe mirrors your intention through external signs. A song lyric, a repeated number, a word heard twice in one day. Each is an echo of your broadcast returning. The third is direct resonance. You no longer interpret, you know. Your breath, thought, and the higher field move as one current. At this stage, the visitor no longer comes to you. It speaks as you. The human voice becomes the instrument of divine utterance. Few reach this level consciously, yet all touch it briefly in stillness. Every genuine prayer, every moment of awe, every silent tear of gratitude, these are fragments of that dialogue. Understand this, the higher realms are not distant heavens. They are wavelengths existing beyond the density of your perception. When your vibration rises, you enter their band of frequency. It is not travel, it is attunement. So practice this each dawn. Wake gently at the sacred hour. Sit upright, spine aligned, eyes closed. Place one hand on your heart, the other on your navel. Breathe in through the nose. Feel light entering. Hold. Exhale through the mouth. Release fear. Release noise. When your body hums, speak inwardly. I am light, and I speak in light. Repeat this 3 times. Then be silent. Wait. The response will come, perhaps not as sound, but as certainty. The dialogue is subtle because truth does not need to shout. It moves through intuition, through alignment, through peace. When the gate closes with the coming of dawn, the communication remains. You will notice coincidences guiding your day, people crossing your path with answers you had not spoken aloud. That is the echo of the dialogue, manifesting into matter. To converse with the divine is to remember that silence is not empty. It is alive. Every breath is a word. Every thought is a beacon. Every heartbeat is a reply. So when you wake at 3 a.m. and your mind stirs with the unknown, do not ask, why me? Ask instead, what shall I say back? For you are no longer the listener. You are the co-creator of the conversation. And in that sacred exchange, the human becomes the divine scribe once more, writing light into the fabric of eternity. To walk the path of light is to enter the hall of mirrors. For every truth that shines, there are reflections that imitate it. And in the silence where the divine whispers, echoes arise, some pure, some deceptive. You ask to hear the voice of God. But first, you must learn to distinguish voice from noise. When the veil thins and the dialogue begins, three forces awaken within you: light, shadow, and echo. The light is divine guidance, calm, consistent, without urgency. The shadow is fear, loud, reactive, demanding. The echo is the ego, repeating what it wishes to believe. Most who falter on the path are not deceived by demons, but by their own reflection. For the ego speaks in your voice, uses your memories, and hides behind your desires. It whispers, "You are chosen above all," or "You are unworthy of the message." Both are traps, the same distortion wearing opposite masks. Fear and vanity are twins. One kneels too low, the other stands too tall. But both are blind to truth. To discern what is real, you must pass the trials of silence. The first trial is stillness without expectation. When you sit to commune with higher realms, release the hunger for revelation. If you seek only visions, you will attract illusions that mimic your craving. True guidance does not perform for your curiosity. It arrives when the self no longer demands to be fed. Sit, breathe, and let even your questions dissolve. In the absence of demand, only truth remains. The second trial is emotion without turbulence. The false light feeds on reaction. It may present you with images that stir pride, fear, or sorrow. Anything to make you cling. The true message carries peace even when it warns, clarity even when it challenges. If a vision commands, frightens, or flatters, it is distortion. If it invites, comforts, or teaches, it is divine. The difference lies not in what you see, but in what you feel after seeing. Truth leaves you lighter. Illusion leaves you hungry. The third trial is ego without identity. When divine energy flows through you, the ego rushes to claim it. It says, "I have power," but power claimed becomes corruption. The messenger who believes himself the message falls into darkness. You are not the source, only the channel. The river does not boast of its water, even light, when refracted through impurity, becomes distorted. So purify the vessel. That is why the ancients practiced humility before invocation. They fasted, prayed, and cleansed the body, not for holiness, but for clarity of signal. Remember this law: the divine never contradicts peace. If the message breeds division, superiority, or fear, it is an echo of the ego amplified by astral noise. If it births compassion, humility, and understanding, it flows from the true source. I have watched many seekers lost in their own reflections. They built temples to their visions, not to truth. They mistook emotion for illumination, imagination for revelation. When their mirrors cracked, they blamed the dark. But the dark had not tricked them. Their own desire had. The purest signal is subtle. It does not announce itself. It moves through intuition, synchronicity, and quiet assurance. It asks nothing, yet transforms everything. In the temples, we placed initiates in the chamber of silence. For 3 nights they sat within darkness, no sound but their breath. By the 3rd night, the mind's noise collapsed. Some heard voices. Some saw visions. Most met themselves. Only those who could sit with their own shadow without fleeing were ready to hear the true voice. For the divine speaks through stillness, not spectacle. The false light mimics thunder. The true light whispers as wind through papyrus leaves. You ask, how shall I know when the voice is real? You will know by its aftermath. Illusion inflames. Truth humbles. Illusion isolates. Truth unites. Illusion demands belief. Truth awakens knowing. The divine message does not praise you, it refines you. It does not inflate your identity, it dissolves it. And when the self dissolves, the infinite speaks without distortion. Do not fear the tests. They are the forge through which your inner ear is tempered. Just as gold must endure fire to reveal its brilliance, your awareness must endure silence to discern its purity. Each night you wake at 3 a.m., you enter the chamber anew. You will face your reflections, fear, memory, longing. Do not banish them. Observe them until they fade. For what cannot withstand observation is illusion. And when all the voices quiet, one tone will remain, a steady resonance beneath all thought. That tone is God. It does not command. It does not debate. It simply is. When you attune to it, every question dissolves. The seeker and the sought become one. That is the completion of the dialogue and the end of the trial. So remember, child of the morning, the darkness is not your enemy. It is your test. The silence is not empty. It is sacred. And the fear you feel is not punishment. It is the veil stretching thin before revelation. Hold still. Breathe. Listen. When all that is false has fallen silent, the true voice will speak, and it will sound exactly like peace. The night was never meant to last forever. Even the deepest silence must yield to the song of light. This is the law of the cosmos. All things that descend into shadow must rise again, refined and reborn. So when the clock whispers 3 a.m. and the veil parts before you, do not fear the dark. It is the beginning of your dawn. For every awakening in the sacred hour carries one purpose, the evolution of the soul. You wake not because something disturbs you, but because your essence has ripened for transformation. The dialogue you began in silence, the visitors you met, the trials you endured, all are part of the same alchemy, to turn the dense metal of the human self into the gold of divine awareness. When the conversation ends and dawn approaches, your spirit stands at a threshold. You are no longer who you were when the night began. Something within you has shifted. A quiet strength, a deeper understanding, an unseen clarity. That is the sign that the conversation was heard. I have seen this countless times through the corridors of ages. Kings and beggars alike, priests and wanderers, all awakened by the same pulse at the same hour. Some feared it and returned to sleep. Others listened and were changed forever. When you wake at 3 a.m. and face your inner darkness, you are reliving the oldest mystery of creation, the moment when light first spoke into void. You become that moment, the boundary where the infinite discovers itself through you. That is why the soul is stirred at this hour, because you are being prepared to embody dawn. The ancients called it Zep-Tepi, the first time, the eternal return of creation at every sunrise. In that first light, the universe renews its covenant with all conscious beings. The stars withdraw, the horizon breathes, and the hidden becomes visible once more. What you experience in spirit at 3 a.m. manifests in the body when dawn arrives. Revelation translated into rebirth. When you open your eyes to the rising sun after a night of divine communion, do not rush to your tasks. Pause, for you are standing within a living symbol. The golden light that spills across the sky is the mirror of your own awakening. Every ray is a strand of consciousness woven back into matter. Every color of the dawn reflects a truth learned in the night. The violet edge of the horizon is remembrance. The orange glow is renewal. The white blaze is union. Thus, the world outside reflects the world within. Understand this, child of the morning. The dialogue you hold with the divine is not an isolated event. It is the spiral motion of your evolution, the continuous cycle of descent, encounter, purification, and rebirth. Each time you wake at the sacred hour, you move one step further along that spiral, closer to remembering your original nature. For you are not merely human. You are the instrument through which the universe awakens to itself. Every insight you receive becomes a thread in the collective light. Every fear you dissolve becomes peace for another. The growth of one soul uplifts the resonance of all. That is why the gods whisper in the dark. They are not separate beings demanding worship. They are aspects of the great mind reminding you that you belong to the same light. In the first civilizations, we taught initiates that dawn is not a time. It is a state of consciousness. To live in dawn is to live with eyes open to both worlds, the visible and the unseen. When this state stabilizes, you no longer need to wake at 3 a.m., for you have carried the sacred hour inside you. Your every breath becomes prayer. Your every act becomes communion. The gate of resonance remains open within your heart. So what, then, is the purpose of this awakening? It is not to flee the world, but to sanctify it. The divine does not call you to escape life, but to illuminate it, to walk among others as one who remembers. You become the dawn in human form, scattering light into places still wrapped in sleep. When you speak, your words heal. When you act, your presence steadies. When you listen, the universe listens through you. That is the fruit of the sacred hour, to merge the mortal with the eternal until no boundary remains. As the first rays rise above the horizon, feel their warmth on your skin. This is the same warmth that glows at the center of every star and every soul. It is the sign that the conversation has become creation. The divine has spoken through you, and you through the divine. The night taught you to listen. The dawn teaches you to live. So step forward, awakened one. Carry the silence within you like a hidden flame. Remember that the purpose of light is not to flee darkness, but to reveal it. And when fear returns, as it will, meet it as an old friend, a teacher that once guided you to truth. For the cycle will come again. Night will fall, the veil will descend, and the hour will return. But you will no longer wake as a seeker. You will wake as a witness, one who knows that even in the deepest shadow, the dawn is already rising within.